Okay guys, this is the CBF 1000 exhaust mod that you see on YouTube. That's probably more akin to what you would normally see, which is how it is as standard. Sorry about the camera work guys. And this side is what you would normally see on the YouTube videos. It's gone, it's disappeared. You can see through to the back there. I don't know if you can get this camera right through to the back where it connects in to the back box, but mainly it's the front bit here. These two rims. There's a rim here which is nicely formed, which is nothing to do with what we're doing, and the inner rim you can see there, that's inner rim there, is what I've cut out myself. So we cut that rim out there. Some people do lots of small holes and then use a hacksaw, but I chose to use a hole saw, which looks something like this. You've seen them. It's a cheap hole saw, it's a bimetal one. The teeth are quite aggressive on these. It's really for cutting timber. It's a plumber's set, but it's a 44mm diameter hole saw. It's 40mm deep, so it's not super deep. It's not a super deep one, but it's 40mm, and it's just enough to actually cut that out. So if I take that up there to that hole, get the light, take that up there, then that just goes through there and cuts that hole out. Here it is on the actual original, so it just sits over. I wonder if I can put that torch up there. I've got no glamorous assistance, so you have to bloody bear with me. Right, so that just sits over the actual exhaust outlet, goes straight down, and obviously you drill that out. Now because it's got no centre, it's going to wobble. It's going to be all over the place, okay? And these teeth are very aggressive. So that's why I used an old-fashioned drill with a handle, because you've got to hold it very, very tight, because once those teeth bite onto that metal, it's going to actually be difficult to cut. So I force this down onto the rim that's in there with some weight to stop it kicking around. And just don't push it in, because if you push it in too tight and it bites, it'll snatch and it can snap these teeth. Another nice way to do it is to go backwards. Do it in reverse. The teeth don't cut as quick. They cut much slower, but it's much more gentle and it won't bite and kick on you. I did it that way around and held it very tightly and managed it. It cut through in 10-15 seconds. But unless you're used to using these things, just use it in reverse. Put some downward pressure on so it's not moving around, and eventually it will blast through. Okay. Once you've blasted through, then you need to wiggle it up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side. Don't be tempted to twist it or hit it with a hammer. It will be stiff at first, and you may need to put some weight on the exhaust to counterbalance your pressure, because you don't want the whole thing flying around. So just work it, and it will eventually become loose like that. What I had to do, it took about 20 minutes to get it that loose, up and down. You can actually wiggle it with your fingers. I had one last little piece of resistance, and then I used a hammer, it's not a rubber mallet. So I was lucky to have some tube, so I popped that in the early days before it was loose. I put that in with a long drill, and I used that to get the leverage when I first started. But after a few minutes, it just becomes easy. Okay, and then once it's broke loose, you can see it's loose. You just pull it out. Okay, and there it is. That's pretty much what you're trying to remove. So it's not a large item. Put my hand there. There's there's two little weld marks there on the actual end of this, what is essentially a DB killer. There are just two small welds there and at the bottom, and that's what you're wiggling. As you wiggle this thing out and wiggle it up and down, that is what you're breaking free. Once it becomes incredibly loose, then I did use a small rubber mallet just to give it a gentle tap, and it was, but I have to emphasise, it was literally at the very, very, very end. I dare say if I'd have wiggled it a few more minutes, that last bit of weld would have broke loose and it would have come out. And that's basically it. That's what you're removing, which is essentially a DB killer. Because I've used the hole saw, here's another one from the other side. Because I've used the hole saw, I've got a reasonably round area that I can possibly weld some more material to, so these can be put back in. I possibly might cut the end off a little bit as well. Or you can possibly buy some of the cheap Chinese ones you see on eBay, DB killers, there's 60mm ones that hopefully will just fit in there. So if you wanted to put the DB killers back in, there's lots of options. Because you've got a nice round hole in there, we've took our time and used a hole saw, then you can replace the DB killer with a bit of welding. If you want to do, you can get them back in, which is what I'm probably going to try and do. MOT wise, if you've got a really shitty MOT test, it's going to give you a hard time, but most places are decent. Use a small independent. These aren't excessive when you take these out, they're quite nice. So that's it, that's the Honda CBF 1000 stock exhaust mod. The only other thing I could find which were close are the Black Widow ones, the oval ones at 400mm length, and they're about 330 quid, which is quite a lot of money on the Mark 1 because you need two. So I think for an hour's work, which it took me from start to finish, it's a job's a good one. If we can get a DB killer to fit in there as well, nicely, whether a cheap Chinese one or these, that can slot in, probably put some screw holes at the bottom. If they can be slotted in for the MOT, even better, then there's no worries at all. So that's it. That's all you're taking out, guys, this. Use a hole saw. 44mm was about right. Don't go any smaller than 44. You can maybe go up to about 48, but go for 44. Use it in reverse, then it won't bite too much and give you a hell of a time. And then just wiggle very, very carefully. It could take 30 minutes or so to wiggle these things free, these baffles when they're in. Just be gentle. Just take your time. Don't kick the living daylights out of it. It will become in the end, so you can do that. And if you find it just won't release that last tiny little bit, just give it a little gentle tap with a hammer at different angles and you'll feel it break free. And they come out quite cleanly. So, right guys, that's it. Give it a whirl. I'm not disappointed. Probably quicker doing this than actually buying a new set of cans. Probably less work doing this mod than putting a set of Black Widow cans on. Alright guys, thanks a lot. Bye now.